Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the closing keynote session of our Fitness and Wellness Online Summit. It's been a great session so far, and we've heard from over 17 speakers on their thoughts on the market. If they're saying the best to last means anything, it means it right now. We've really got a fantastic panel for you to enjoy, to listen to, even to engage through questions of your own. It's a pleasure to welcome to the panel. We have Myan, who's Business Development or Innovation Director for GoFit. GoFit are one of the new brands under the Evolution Wellness family, and Evolution Wellness, for those that perhaps do not know, are one of the biggest operators in the entire of the Asia Pacific market. Welcome, Nad. Andrea Bell is the Director of Singapore for Anytime Fitness Asia, and Andrea has been inspirational in guiding a huge growth for Anytime Fitness across Asia and specifically to Singapore. And last but not least, Nicole Nason. Nicole is now the Director of International Franchise Operations and Support for Gold's Gym, who of course have a huge number of territories globally. Nicole at the moment is looking after 29 of those territories. Before I start, it's always good to share good news, ladies and gentlemen, and in case you missed the news wire yesterday, you might have missed that Anytime Fitness Asia have been acquired by an investment group here in Asia, and it's a great point of encouragement and belief that investors see the long-term vision, the long-term return that the fitness industry have. Andrea, congratulations to you and the team. I know it has been in the pipeline for a while, but anything you can quickly share on that deal just now with the audience?
Yeah, thank you for introducing that. I've been excited to get it out to the public, that's for sure. It's something that we've been working on for over a year to get done, and interestingly, we were about to close when COVID hit, and we did have to take a minute and sort of reassess everything and see what we wanted to do going forward. It did give us the opportunity to do a deeper dive on the business, and what we found was we're coming out of this stronger than ever, and so we pushed forward with it. And our investors were really happy to do that as well. So we're excited. I know it's a big challenge to be coming on board right now, but hey, love a challenge. So happy to take it forward for everybody successfully.
Thanks, Andrea. Well, let's dovetail that into the first question, ladies and gents. And Andrea, let's maybe look reflectively in the past couple of months for Anytime Fitness Asia. You run a number of different portfolios across countries. I think every one of those countries has been in some degree of lockdown. How have the last couple of months been for Anytime Fitness, and especially Anytime Fitness Singapore?
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, we kind of came into this before. I mean, I was doing Singapore before COVID happened, and then as the new owners as well. So we tried really hard to keep Singapore open and followed all the government rules as they were, increasing, the measures that we had, and we did follow those as much as we could to try and stay open. But eventually, of course, we didn't. It's been challenging for sure for the franchisees, for the members. So making sure that we just stayed in communication, highly connected with the franchisees. They're the experts on the ground, and just putting in as much as we can to help them get through this, both with the closure and then while they're closed as well as, and now looking at opening. We had quite a deep, detailed playbook to reopen on June the 1st. However, that didn't go to plan. So, we got a little bit more time on that. But yeah, it's been mostly staying connected with the franchisees and making sure that we're giving them what they need for support.
Thanks, Andrea. And Nicole, similarly so. You've obviously got quite a large international portfolio. What's been your reflections in the past couple of months on what's been happening at Gold's Gym?
Yeah, so I mean, for us, the biggest challenge has been making sure to adapt to each unique territory. Everything from the cultural requirements to government to policy has been a hurdle in trying to provide guidance and support and make sure that our franchisees feel confident communicating with their government and pushing for opening. Mm-hmm. So having to be ready to adapt all of that for each and every different country has definitely been a workload, but we've pushed through. And I think that that's something obviously that has helped us outline next steps for the future and how are we going to manage this going forward, because we fully, as Ian addressed several times, we fully expect that this is not the last time we'll deal with this. And so those steps and those requirements need to be put in place now, so that, you know, if we're faced with a similar challenge in the future, it's turnkey for us to make sure that we've got that support in place.
Yeah. Nad, this is a very similar question to yourself. I know, but perhaps, you know, the bigger Evolution Wellness brand, challenging time. What have the last 2-3 months looked for you in the company?
Yeah, I mean, it's a couple of perspectives here. From EW's perspective, we've had a really unique opportunity to gather the troops together, to reassess training needs, get everybody upskilled in terms of training and what the delivery will be to members when they get back. Very unusual for us to have, obviously, the opportunity to do that with everybody together. So we're upping the game, same level across the 6 countries. It gives us a great opportunity to hit the ground running as things start to open up. For GoFit, great opportunity, really. I mean, for what's a very, very new licensing proposition brand, it's given us a chance to really tighten up on what that proposition is, develop some of the new integrations that we wanted to get launched later down the road. We've been able to fast track those, and then obviously to address what some of the new concerns are from an SOP perspective for all of our businesses, and get those prepared so that we are able to get some traction immediately.
Let me just stick on that at the moment. I know we talked about this earlier today. The ability frozen like a deer in headlights, not engaging your staff, not engaging your members, not engaging your franchisees. You really are going backwards. How have the members and engaging the team to make sure that everyone is on point and ready to go when the reopenings begin?
Well, I mean, communication has been the most important thing for us to do. I think for any of the businesses in our industry, and even, you know, broader scale to that, communication is key. We've seen an increase in communication from the top down. You know, our CEO and our business leaders, the unit leaders, have been engaging the staff, making sure the staff are fully aware of what is coming next, what our plans are, to reassure everybody that we are best placed for great recovery as soon as we are allowed to start reopening. Hong Kong has reopened, and we've seen some very, very encouraging numbers there. We're expecting to see the same across our other 5 territories. And of course, member engagement, as everybody has been doing, is really through the provision of digital platform, of virtual workouts. We've seen a massive uptick in that, and we continue to develop that and put a structure in place that will allow us to continue that as we bridge the gaps between the bricks and mortar opportunity.
Okay, and Nicole, let me come to yourself. I know you have such a wide international network that it is very difficult for you to try and engage every single member, every single franchisee, every single club manager, and then of course to do that, you know, in line with cultural sensitivities. How has this challenge been tackled by you in the company, and what are some of the reflections from it?
Really good question, especially to anybody looking to, you know, potentially take on a new facility or come out of this and start something new. The easiest way for me to help support my franchisees, especially when it comes to those issues, is to try and fall back on human psychology and sort of the basic fundamental that regardless of language or belief system or policy, what is it that people need from us? And that's that's human contact. It's relationships. And so the number one thing that we advised immediately was start calling your members. Call them personally, check on them, literally just make sure that they're healthy and they're safe and they're okay. And so what we did was we provided scripting for both, if they're healthy and well, literally just saying, we want to make sure you're okay. We want to make sure you're getting the newsletter. We want to make sure you know what's happening and you feel comfortable reaching out to us and we're answering your questions. If they have had a negative experience, say they've contracted the illness themselves, they've lost a loved one, you know, we prepared scripting for that. And that way they were able to take it and adapt it in their local territories and and make sure that it was culturally sensitive and translated. And we had some wonderful things come out of it. In Dominican Republic, Ian Rondon, who's our franchisee there, actually did it himself. He just took it upon himself as the master franchisee, picked up the phone and started calling his members. And so from our point of view, it did help develop or build on a relationship that was already there, and continue to try and pursue this relationship of trust that we believe in.
Sure. Andrea, of course, you've got an Asia remit, but so much of your experience has been in building the Singapore family, as it were, in Anytime Fitness. How have you managed to keep that family engaged? Because they were, of course, going through the lockdown, into lockdown. I think there was hopefully going to come out of the lockdown, but again, they've maybe have their hopes dashed in the last couple of weeks. So how are you managing to keep them energized, keep them on point?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few different levels, right, of engagement. So we've got engagement with the franchisees, the club staff and the members as well. So making sure that we've covered all those streams through this has been really important. I think one of the things with going through this change is, the globe is going through this change. And so it's important to understand that we're all in this together, and that, it's not like the members are just going through it. Our staff are going through it, our franchisees going through it. And we all, although it's roughly the same change, we're going through it at different paces, and we process the information at different speeds. So just making sure that we did some sessions on change management and transition, especially because the new team coming in as well. That was another change for our network and what that all meant for everybody. So really just focusing on that and getting people to understand that it's okay to feel, fine with whatever they are feeling. Certainly when we came into it, stress levels were really high. So staying, just getting people to understand that that's okay. And second to that, we've got a really robust learning management system led by Jean Scott. And so we've used this opportunity to really focus on the learning and growth of our staff and franchisees as well. So making sure we're adding content onto that constantly. And so this downtime really has been a great opportunity to go, okay, what can we do to build our teams and level them up through this? And so when they do open, they're an improved version of themselves. So, we're throwing content at that constantly, getting the franchisees and teams to look at that. And then, as Nicole said, reaching out to the members and making those phone calls, because it's hard for everybody right now to be sitting home locked in some cases in like a very small apartment with family. Love them dearly, but 24/7 is a lot. And then, of course, homeschooling. We're now all, teachers, and I think teachers need a lot of gratitude, because that's not been easy for everybody. And so our members are those people as well. They're dealing with that. So I think it's just understanding that and having the empathy for everybody to know that, it is a really challenging time for everyone, and just having those conversations really with them all and seeing how they are.
Thanks, Andrea. So obviously huge investments now in learning and education and growing capability of the team. Maybe let's kind of move into, I suppose, some of the future investments that you wanted to make in the business. Have any of those quickened up, or have any of those slowed down, perhaps maybe looking into the next couple of months?
Yeah, well, for us, definitely, like, we've had these long-term plans about bringing on, additional platforms, and of course, digital was one of them, but that's just become an immediate need. I think digital is, it's just so much out there. I think everybody, if you don't have a digital platform, then, like, why not? But there's so much variation in those digital platforms that are out there too. So for us, making sure that we have the right digital platform for our network is really key. Revenue building streams, that's where the digital is focused. But we know from going through this that revenue stream is a relatively small percentage of your existing revenue that has just gone away. So although it's important, it's a long-term plan for us. It's not a short-term, fix for our clubs. We need them open, but we definitely need to have it going forward. And so we've sped that process up, as well as together with reservation platforms. We know that coming out of this, we're going to need those platforms as well. So yeah, we've definitely sped things up. And being able to have such a strong brand, I wouldn't say pivot, because it's changing what we do, and what we do is stayed the same, but we're flexible enough to add on, these extra platforms to allow a broader membership base, I would say. Some members are not going to want the bricks and mortar anymore. And so we have to be able to be adaptable and offer that additional stream. And so bringing that into the network is where we've really focused.
Okay. And Nicole, similar question to yourself. I know that Gold's Gym have always had a strong technology component to offer to their members. How is that being built up in the coming months? And is it at the detriment to any other investments in the company that you wanted to make?
So far, no, luckily. There was enough groundwork put in place before this happened that we were able to continue with the large bullet points while this was, looming over everybody's head. We have had to, so I've been working directly with our learning and development team, because again, one of the biggest hurdles I think in delivering great experiences in territory is making sure that content is contextually translated as well as translated into local languages. And so we've been working with our teams around the world to make sure that our learning and education platform is now able to provide that, and have finally sourced a platform that is available in every language, including Mongolian, which was a bit of a challenge. But yeah, that stifled a little bit, but we picked right up with that as soon as we were ready to get going again a few weeks ago. What happened was we had some plans in line to advance our online platform, obviously, for workout and education in the library that we wanted to provide. So that was fast-tracked immediately. And that content will continue to be built out, and it will continue to be built out with localization for each of our territories. So different languages will be available on there. Gold's Gym AMP, which our CEO Adam is obviously really proud of, having been the person that designed that and put it together, and it being the first mobile app put out to the community by a brick and mortar gym. So we've had some hurdles with music licensing there and wanting to be able to take that globally, and we've now been able to resolve those. So there'll be some exciting news around that in the coming months. And for us, it really it pushed on the things that were already important, and it allowed us to really just tunnel vision on those few things for a few months. So, with every challenge that you face, there's always another side to that, right? The shadow effect. So lucky for us.
Thanks, Nicole.
We're still in a position to move forward on those things.
Well, I think you've been doing this for really strong offering, Amped, and for those guys that perhaps maybe haven't looked at it or tried it, it's world class. Nad, bringing you in to maybe talk a bit about EW's perspective. I suppose EW were already investing in new products with Fire and GoFit. Perhaps you can share a bit more about those products, and of course maybe other innovations that are accelerating or decelerating in the past couple of months and next couple of months.
Sure. I mean, what we've done is some of the stuff has had to slow down. Obviously, we're not in a position to open the new GoFit clubs that we have planned in our other territories as per our original schedule. We are still committed to opening them, but obviously the dates have just been pushed out a little further. Conversely, a lot more development and fast-track development, as with the ladies and their brands, in terms of what the digital proposition is. For EW, it's meant a relook in terms of how we engage the members, with a desire to replicate as much of the bricks and mortar experience in their own homes. So that's been a real driving force for us. And wanting to stay at the front of innovation, that's something that we're really keen to keep ahead of the game on. With GoFit, it's a little more interesting because it's already technology based. So there's not been too much of a pivot in terms of what that consumer experience is. We already offer virtual group X in our studios. So that's a very easy thing to translate and replicate in somebody's home. We've also had to, however, look at, with such a low staffing model, how we control people's access into the gyms when we don't have reception counters. So that's given us a challenge, really, in being able to develop a method that gives us that additional layer of screening that gives our members the degree of comfort that we are exercising all of the necessary SOPs for the
Thanks,
business
Matt.
to operate within what the new
I think we've
norms
heard
are.
today, of course, that there's various levels of the market. The big box, they do have deeper pockets than the rest of the industry, and you know, if they can weather the storm, they'll be okay. I think the marketplace for boutiques and small to mid-sized enterprises is a very different outlook, sadly, and there'll be a lot of attrition and consolidation there. Looking at the franchise market, and Nicole, I'll bring you in to answer this question first. Are franchise optimally placed to come out of this COVID crisis looking positive, and how does the kind of franchise model and the franchise offering suit people that are looking to try and invest in the sector in the future?
Yeah, great question, important question. Short answer is yes, at least from my perspective and what I see happening across the industry. And I think, you know, we've got, Andrea is a great example, right? And people who've been in the industry a long time and who are ready to proceed. And you know, Gold's Gym has been negotiating master franchise agreements during this time. They're still continuing, and there's been nobody who have chosen to walk away from it. So positive response is yes. I think what is important to take into consideration, I've made some notes here because I want to make sure I don't miss anything. But those of us who've been around a long time, the brands that have been in the industry for a long time have luckily already withstood some, you know, global tragedies and some economic crises. So what's important is knowing that the franchise model is set up to continue to support people moving forward, to continue to make sure that investors not only receive the support that they need, but their staff does as well. And nothing to take away from, you know, locally owned and operated brands. There are people who do an exceptional job, who've been in the industry a long time, who know what they're doing. But being able to rely on that structure and the massive support that a franchise network can provide is, I think it's irreplaceable. Our franchisees are really close with each other, and they get to communicate throughout this experience and share best practices, as are we. Sharing those best practices globally. So that network is, it's something that you cannot devalue, I think, when you choose to move into purchasing a franchise. And there was one other, Ian made a point earlier talking about how some of these smaller chains and smaller operators or locally owned operators will possibly not make it through this. And while that's not, we would never wish that on anybody, it's not, you know, that's not a happy occurrence for anyone. We ourselves as Gold's Gym have unfortunately had to close some gyms, but the upside to that is the market will become a little bit more competitive, and there's money to be had in that. And so I think that investors absolutely see this as an opportunity, and they know that should they choose a market that they're confident in and educated on, that there's some financial profit in it for them.
Thanks, Nicole. Yeah, it's interesting. I think everybody is predicting an attrition of between 10 and 30% of gyms in the next maybe 6 months. But at the same time, they're also anticipating that there could be a rebound recovery of at least 10 to 30% in consumer demand, which, if you do the numbers on those fronts, for anyone still left in the game at the end of this year, then the potential returns are evident for the foreseeable future. Andrea, your thoughts, please, on you know, how quickly can franchises recover, and how can they be best placed to recover quickest?
Yeah, I think one of the strength of a franchising business in the first place is that it comes with a proven system, right? So we know that, say, 80% of businesses fail in the first 3 years of their business. To this, the strength and why small business owners and entrepreneurs wanted to get into franchising is now even more beneficial. You know, you are coming in, and so to Nicole's point, we will come out of this stronger. We've also still have a lot of franchisees, existing franchisees, as well as prospects to get into the franchising business that are still fairly bullish through this. They're looking at that long-term plan and not, you know, just the short term on that. So that's exciting. I think the strength of because not all franchising businesses are the same, but certainly having a smaller footprint than some of the bigger players out there definitely helps keep our OPEX lower. You know, having the smaller staffing models like GoFit and AF as well, you know, that definitely helps going forward. So I think franchising is definitely set to be secure going forward. That doesn't mean that, you know, we won't lose a few, to Nicole's point. You know, there might be some that don't remain, and we'll do all we can to make sure that that's minimized. But making sure that those structures of the franchising business remain strong, you know, will give confidence to the consumer market and the new franchisees as they come in as well.
Nad, just to follow up, any additional thoughts on this? I mean, GoFit in its offering, as you know, kind of budget, high technology, seems to be a good fit for the future marketplaces. It was obviously positioned as a new product, but have you inadvertently managed to create an even better product given the marketplace today?
Well, there have certainly been some new demands that have been placed on the expectations of the consumer experience in a gym that has forced our hand to develop some new tech, really, and some new integrations for the brand. You know, I think that franchises across the board are going to be very well placed to recover from this. We've seen some damage already. There's been some consolidation, but I think that is only planning in terms of ensuring that we've got a stronger platform to move forward from. Franchisees should continue to have the confidence that the businesses that we've built are well structured, they're well studied, and are frequently the operational teams that we have in EW have experience in every corner of the world in our industry. So there's very few challenges or scenarios within which the team are not able to help to solve those and overcome any questions, any queries. So I think, you know, from that perspective, we're all well placed to certainly springboard.
Thanks, Nad. One of those key, I suppose, springboards will be the knowledge and know-how of how to quickly reopen your facilities. Now, Nicole, I know that Gold's Gym had one of the first reopenings globally with your gym in Mongolia. And again, you guys are doing some fantastic work in opening studios across America and being at the coalface, if you will, of trying to pioneer these safe distancing practices. What have you learned from that, and what are the lessons that you can pass on to your international network?
Well, I think what's really important first and foremost is members still want the gym. So we can all sort of take a deep breath and relax. I think there was a lot of fear and concern over whether or not there'd be this mass germophobia and people wouldn't be comfortable coming back. What our openings have proven is that as long as you are good about publicizing your cleaning schedule, what you're doing, what members can expect, you're good at publicizing how members should behave and making sure that they understand what they're supposed to do, people are happy to return. What we're seeing is in the initial opening phases, it's around 35 to 55% of the check-in rate pre-COVID. However, Mongolia, who has been open for well over a month now, it has already returned to their full check-in statistics. So, and on some days they're even exceeding it. Now, what's been interesting is that sort of morning and evening rush is completely gone. It's a steady stream of people throughout the day. We have had some of our gyms testing reservations, and so they've gone that route in order to ensure that they have the correct number of people in the gym within, you know, a certain time frame. But it seems that the general public has already elected to do that regardless. And in all honesty, I completely believe that a lot of companies are going to go, hey, we can operate with about half the staff in in this leased facility and half the staff working from home, and it's going to allow us to reduce our operating expenses. And I think a lot more people are going to just remain at-home employees going forward. And so I think that will absolutely impact the hours in which we experience high foot traffic in the clubs. The other thing that we've learned is that people are still comfortable coming in to buy. We had one of our gyms in the States reopened, and within 2 days sold 160 memberships, and only 25% of those were online. People were still showing up, happy to come in, happy to buy a membership. I mean, the thing is we are social creatures. We are physiologically engineered to interact with each other. And so while I absolutely believe that technology will be even more important now than it was before, that members will expect it as a part of their membership, they will fully expect to be able to access exercises at home as well as in the gym. I don't think that anything will ever be able to replace that tangible experience of being in a facility, experiencing a fitness routine with other people who have similar goals and likes and beliefs as you.
Sure, great points, Nicole. I think it was mirrored earlier today. We're moving from this fitness in gym to fitness at home to fitness anywhere. So how do we manage to capture everybody at any one time? And I think we had a poll the last event looking at working from home policies. And I think it was 75% of people would allow their employees to work greater than 1 day to 2 days a week for the rest of the year and going forward. So there is this huge swathe of people now that we expect to be at home working, but still wanting to go to the gym. And with employers being more flexible on what hours they can work and what hours they can take off, they'll naturally find a flattened curve of usage, which would be great. Andrea, maybe last on this question as well for you, how are you equipping your own franchise owners, studio managers with policies? I know you had a great playbook. Obviously you can't share that here, but there's a lot of work gets put into that. What are some of the learnings that you've learned from other places in the US, and how is that filtering down into areas like Asia as it reopens?
Yeah, I think certainly one of the benefits from this is that there's this great global connection now. We're having these meetings, we're talking with people we never would have talked with before. Certainly from our point of view, the masters are talking on a weekly basis and sharing best practice, and that has definitely helped communicate down through samples of the playbook that you mentioned, giving the franchisees higher level detail than what they've had before, because this is all new and different. We've not faced this. So, we've gone into more detail for them to make sure that is there. Together with that detail, understanding that we don't all work the same. So we've got the detailed playbook that some will appreciate, others will just be, no, it's too much. So then having checklists as well for those that just, want to check off things. Complementing that with videos and higher level graphics on how they can make sure that they're achieving all the protocols that they need to open safely and successfully. All that is really, sort of crucial right now to ensure that we're following the rules, and as an industry, not just a brand, that we stay open and considered safe. I know a lot of us are lobbying governments in that right now to make sure that we either get open a little bit earlier or open at all in the next couple of months. So making sure that that's the same. Keeping the network engaged now through this period is really crucial to a successful opening. If you've not engaged your members through this, and then on day one of opening you're wondering why they're not coming in, that's probably why. It's really important to keep them engaged through this. We talked about reaching out to the members individually and all that, being transparent and open, and just reiterating what Nicole said as well, making sure that, the education is going downstream, I suppose. Does that answer the question?
Absolutely fine. Perfect, Andrea. Nad, obviously Hong Kong has reopened, so one of your territories has reopened, and what have some of the kind of shared best practices been from that you're now passing across some of your other businesses across Asia, and how are you managing to keep on putting into them best practices about reopening?
So I think the first thing that we've learned from our team in Hong Kong is to hold on and be prepared for the rush, because it's coming. There has been a significant increase in volume of usage. It was close to the mark the first couple of days. Following that, usage has been up year on year. That's been also reflected in sales. So we're expecting, as everybody would hope to expect, a huge rush of existing members coming back to the business and attracting some new members. Obviously, what's been at the forefront of this whole pandemic is the necessity for people to have strong immune systems. It's been of note that obesity is a high risk state of affairs to be in for attracting COVID and not being able to recover well. So I think that actually has lent itself to the public wanting to get into the gym and experience that, for their own health. So yeah, that's what we've learned from there. Our SOPs are extremely important. Communicating that we are cleaning more regularly, and I think trying to encourage the members to take responsibility for their own hygiene as well. Not expecting for staff to be cleaning up behind them. I think long gone are the days of expecting for people to accept that you're going to leave your sweaty mark on the bench as you move to the next piece of equipment. I think the more that we can drill that into our members to ensure that they are practicing good hygiene, the more they're going to help us to stay open. I think the last thing that any of us want is to see a spike in cases because people have been irresponsible.
We've got about 10 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. I've got a few questions in front of me, so I'm going to ask the panelists these questions. I'll keep the answers, ladies and gents, to 30 seconds each, so we can try and get through as many of these questions as possible. The first question from the audience: considering the cash or balance sheet impacts that many operators are feeling, are franchisers and are franchise companies now looking to alter your qualification criteria for prospective franchisees? So will you have to move the goalposts financially to try and make sure that you're hitting new franchisees? Andrea, don't want to put you in the spot, but how does you think that some of this kind of cash flow positivity, negativity will affect future pipeline?
Yeah, so I guess for me personally, when I was looking for franchisees, looking for someone who's passionate about, the fitness industry or health in general is always been key, because I can't teach that, right? That's ingrained. Business skills in that we can. However, going through this, we do know how important business skills are to companies still remaining and moving forward through this. So having quality franchisees is definitely really important for any franchise system. You shouldn't be just having somebody with a heartbeat come in, right? So it makes the network cohesive. So I think that's one of the great things about the Singapore Anytime Fitness Network, is our franchisees are really engaged with each other and always have been, and that has definitely helped build those relationships and that trust between each other, and keep that sort of competition down, so they know that they work together going forward. But definitely having quality franchisees through this and going forward is key to your brand being successful.
Okay, thanks. Nicole, similar question. I know, again, huge geography split here for yourself, but how much flexibility can you take, should you take in these times with prospective new franchisees?
Well, I think what's important, first of all, is we are, as a company, we're very malleable when it comes to territory assessment. So that's something that Craig and Kevin and Mike are great at researching. They're good at proposing candidates, and they're good at making sure that those who come forward have a potentially successful business plan in mind and are financially prepared to invest in that. So I mean, I don't know that I would say that we're changing those standards, but we're assessing them probably in a different way than we did before. Yeah.
Thanks, Nicole. Nad, of course, I know that you've got different pipelines for your different offerings. How do you think, some of those have to be repackaged given the crisis, or do you think it's still business as usual? It's a great offering. We can still just keep with our value proposition and move forward.
Look, I think for us, it's business as usual. We were super excited about getting GoFit launched out the gate as a new player in this arena. We maintain the same level of excitement. We're just keen to get it out the box. Obviously, timing is important. We don't want to be insensitive, but we have a great business proposition. We're not a high capex proposition, so our cost model is very low. So the amount of available cash a potential licensee needs to have is not as high as some of the other brands. We've also got such a robust business system behind it. It's going to be difficult for somebody not to do well. It's not a high staffing model. There's not a great deal of people management involved in the brand. So it's very simple to operate, very simple to get started, particularly in our key markets, the 6 that we currently operate within. We have such a strong team behind the launch of the brand. There's always somebody at the end of the phone to
Sure. I'll just stick with you, Nad, at the moment. You've obviously, Evolution have invested quite a large amount of time and money into your digital offering. How do you price a digital offering into a franchise offering? Is it pretty much, again, is it a top up? Is it a complementary offering into an offering to members? How do you view the future of digital fitness and how you price that into your offering?
Well, how you price it into the offering is very carefully. You don't want to price people out of the proposition. So we're looking really more at bundling and giving different tiers of access to different types of content. Now, when this thing first hit us, obviously the market has been saturated with content, and it's all been free of charge. The downside, the upside to that is great. It means that we're getting more people exercising. The downside to it, of course, is that it's another one of those examples that devalues our product and our business. So we're going to be really challenged to now introduce a pricing model to something that people have been used to getting for free over this period. And I think the only way that we do that is exclusive content. But with EW, we are very fortunate that we have so many brands under the group that each have its own personality and its own signature, that we're able to bundle up our offering and provide access to different types of content to anybody.
Thanks, Nad.
I think it's
Nicole,
sorry.
No,
I was just going to say it's a really good point that Nad made, and I think it's important to remember for all of us going forward, there's still going to be a lot of free content. So we're going to have to be really good at determining what our differentiators are, ensuring people actually achieve their fitness goals, and making sure that we personalize it. Otherwise, it's just going to be white noise.
For sure.
Andrea?
Yeah, I mean, we've been testing, products as well, and looking at and sort of comparing which product out there is going to suit our market. Certainly, to Nad's point, making sure that we have a variation in what we're offering, for the different members, and having some free content to let people see and access it is really important too. Through this, when we have sort of piloted our digital platform in some of our clubs, and the uptake has been quite mind-blowing, actually, that people are ready to pay for it, considering how much free content is out there. So that's really positive. That sort of made us think, okay, we're onto something, and I think it is very important that we do have that going forward. But members are willing to pay for that, and of course, making that price point is really critical, getting it right. And that's an adjustment period. But people are willing to have both options and either have digital or a combination of both, that work from home as well. So yeah, really, really positive news to move forward with.
Okay, we've had a question that will tie in quite nicely to our closing question, ladies and gents, which is fast forward 6 months, fast forward 12 months. Where are we as an industry, and what are you most positively looking forward to within that period? Nicole, if we can start with yourself, please.
6 months as an industry, I'm going to be brutally honest. I think we're still writing the playbook, because I think things are going to evolve and change, and there'll be new cleaning products that come out that are healthier and safer, but still do what we need them to do. There's going to be new ways of applying those, of tracking and monitoring those. So I think it's important to remember that the next 12 to 18 months is going to be an evolution for us, and we need to be ready to adapt quickly. The upside is I think these things are going to become simpler moving forward. It's going to become much easier. The combination of sanitization and technology coming together is going to make our lives a lot easier as club operators. In all honesty, I really believe that this is going to give us an opportunity to reach more individuals. I saw a comment on here about all of us coming together and trying to actually bring those of us who are considered competitors into, you know, a concerted effort to expand our penetration as opposed to, you know, fighting over the same members. And I could not agree more. And I think this is an exceptional opportunity for us to do that, because I think people are now, there is a little bit more confidence that I can work out at home. I can do that. I can be successful. And maybe I'm not comfortable going into a gym yet, because that's one of the biggest hurdles, right? People are literally just uncomfortable walking into a club. They're intimidated. And so if they can do that at home, practice at home, you know, get more confidence, and then go, okay, I'm ready to go into the gym that I'm, you know, is close to me, or maybe the gym whose app I've been using, then, you know, we now are expanding to a group who maybe previously would not have considered working out in a gym. In addition to the opportunity of technology and adding cameras in our classes and allowing people who move away to still potentially pay a small fee to access their favorite instructors. And so now we're improving our retention rate as well. I think it's really important that we just continue to share these best practices with each other, similarly to how we are right now. And I think that sort of, you know, all elusive goal of reaching more people as opposed to fighting over the same ones will be easily overcome.
Thanks, Nicole. Andrea, maybe in a couple of words, what are you most looking forward to for our industry in the future?
We're in a unique position to go through what we're going through all together, right? And with any challenge, if you come out the other side, you come out stronger, whether you like it or not. Just the experience of going through it, you will come out stronger, and we will all do that together. You know, one of the comments to Nicole pointed out as well, coming together as an industry, not just per country, but now Asia-wide. You know, for us here in Asia, and of course the other markets as well. India has done a great job of coming together as well. See Vic has, you know, with the India team doing that. It's just such an opportunity to work together to move this forward. And I think, you know, Ross Fit Summit, I think you started that last year with Fit Summit, and it was just really led it for us all. So, you know, it's an amazing opportunity, I think, to work together. Going.
Thanks. Nad, a closing comment before we have to hang up.
Well, I think as an industry, we're all in this together, and we need to recognise that, and we need to take it from a little step further from just being focused on the consumer. Yes, it is about the consumer, but it's also about the business, and it's forums like this where, you know, we're able to share ideas, share best practices that is going to propel us as an industry forward. No one is going to win out of this on their own. It is going to be a collaborative effort that's necessary to get us through this and get us back to some form of whatever that new normal is. But, you know, sharing ideas, sharing concepts, sharing best practices is what I'd really like to see. And just to play to Nicole's comment right from the beginning, I think we also have to remember that this
Ladies and gentlemen, that is
a marathon.
time, as they say.
We've got ways to
Nicole,
go yet.
Andrea, Nad, thank you very much for all of your words of wisdom and your time for this. Ladies and gentlemen watching, thank you for all of your time and energy in joining us for the last few hours. There's 10 minutes left if you want to disappear into networking for a few 10 minutes or visit some of our booths. In 10 minutes time, the Hop-In platform will gradually shut itself off. These are very dark times, but I actually think coming from where I'm sitting from a lot of different perspectives, I'm seeing now more green shoots than I have done in the past few weeks. And if we can just get a little bit more momentum of those green shoots, I think in June we'll start to understand how good a market can be by the end of the year. So I wish each of you all the very best, your families all the very best, your teams all the very best, and keep on building the businesses, and take care and be safe. Thank you very much. And we will leave the conversation now. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.